Hi everybody, Bryn here from Tradies Accountant. I've got Matt Walker here with me from Aiims.
G'day Bryn, how you doing?
Yeah, fantastic mate. How are you doing?
Well mate, thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to be up in Brisbane.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Mate, I thought to start with, maybe you could give me a little bit of a background of what you do and the company and the services you provide.
Yeah, sure mate. First of all, Aiims, essentially we're a digital marketing agency. Sort of been working with you for quite some time at Tradies Accountants. In a nutshell, basically we're a full circle agency. So we work exclusively with trade and construction based businesses.
Yep.
Myself as the founder, I have a couple of partners. We've been around for about 12 years or so now.
Yep.
Aiims as an agency itself, we've grown exponentially over the years and now a real market leader in the industry. Currently employ around 50 to 60 staff.
Yep.
In our office in Sydney. We do everything from web design, web development, videography, TV ads, YouTube, Google ads, SEO, social media management, basically anything from a marketing, branding, or growth perspective for small businesses in Australia is sort of the area that we specialise in.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
And sounds like you'd be pretty busy at the moment?
Mate, absolutely. It's definitely been a busy couple of years. We've gone through a real sort of growth phase ourselves, and obviously in a digital landscape, it's ever evolving. So a big part of our methodology and principles in business is evolution, and I suppose staying ahead of the curve and being innovative as much as possible.
Yeah.
Digital marketing quickly evolves through all the platforms that are available for small businesses. So through our partnerships with Google and Facebook and Microsoft and whatnot, it's been a busy couple of years.
Yeah.
Obviously COVID had a major impact,
Yeah.
and I suppose that was an area for us to really support our clients, and
Yep.
coming out of COVID now, it seems like it's definitely had a really positive effect, which is good.
Yeah, fantastic. And what do you see in terms of the future? Like, what do you see in terms of the future of marketing? Where's it heading over the next 5 to 10 years?
So look, my methodology is simple. I think the traditional principles in marketing have always stayed the same. The short answer is basically we want to be where the eyes are.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in sales and marketing and service within a business. They all speak the same language.
Yep.
I think communicating is probably key.
Yep.
Marketing gives you the opportunity to communicate with your audience or with your customer, whether they're an existing customer or a new customer.
Yep.
So essentially the same principles apply in traditional forms of marketing as they do now.
Yep.
Obviously, with the rise of digital has made it a lot more accessible and reach a lot more achievable for a small to medium business where they didn't have those opportunities back when we were all tied to the yellow pages and whatnot 20 or so years ago.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so with all those mediums, if you're a trade-based business, how do you know which one of those mediums you should be using in your business? I guess?
And that's a great question, and that's probably where digital marketing, the industry, particularly for a tradie or a small business owner, it's a nightmare. It's a mess, right?
Yeah.
You can't turn on your computer screen or your Facebook and without being absolutely hounded. Your phone rings 5 times a day, and 4 of them are from a bloody SEO agency trying to flog off some Google package. So business owners are getting pulled left and right.
Yep.
Where to go, how much to spend, which platforms are the best to start with. Look, the short answer is my advice would be to never ever put all of your eggs into one basket.
Yep.
So the summary of that answer would be all of them.
Yeah.
On what level of investment, with what strategy? Well, that's going to differ.
Yeah.
The real big thing I think is before you sort of venture out into going into Facebook or Instagram, or whether you're looking at Google ads or organic SEO, I think the first question is you want to ask yourself, what is the purpose? What am I trying to achieve? What are my expectations?
Yeah.
Then if you work with an expert or someone who understands the industry and someone who understands the game, you want to then put together a plan and a strategy to, I suppose, execute and meet those expectations.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like starting with the end in mind and then working back.
Mate,
sounds like
that's spot on.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. And that's probably where a lot of business owners sometimes go wrong. They get told or they feel that they need to be on Facebook. So they go out and they pour money into a Facebook ad package. Fingers crossed the phone rings. They have no tracking. They have no expectation.
Yep.
The objectives weren't clear. The target market or the target customer wasn't clear. And sometimes these are the types of advertising strategies, and you hear it a lot. I'm sure you hear it a lot. Business owners are just sick and tired of working with digital marketers. And look, I've been in the game for 20 years, and I understand completely.
And so, like, if I'm running a trade-based business and I'm coming to you, Matt, and I want to grow my business, I'm looking at growing this business. and I've decided I've got to hire somebody to help me do that, which would be a marketing agency. What kind of questions should I be asking you?
Yep.
And what should I be looking for out of a digital marketing agency?
Yeah, no, valid question. I think finding the right marketing partner or the right marketing agency is definitely key. Look,
Yep.
I think the first question you want to ask your agency essentially is or try to understand by doing a bit of due diligence is, do they have experience in your particular trade, in your particular industry? I think that's going to be pivotal, right?
Yep.
Now, why I feel that we've had a lot of success, and why I'm confident we've had a lot of success in a lot of markets, is because we know both sides of the fence. We understand the business and the industry, but we understand the market and who we're targeting. And I think that's key in being able to connect, your brand, your products, your services, and get them in the eye, in front of the right customers.
Yeah.
So I think understanding the agency's experience and then success in the industry.
Yep.
I think the questions you really want to be asking them is based on their recommendations. So you want to know what you're talking about. You want to know what you're looking for, but obviously you want to sort of understand what their recommendations are. Platforms, whether we're going Google, whether we're going social. From a web design perspective, do they outsource? Is another big question. You find there's always a game of Chinese whispers between a company that outsources all of their development and their marketing, and sometimes it misses the play.
Yep.
That would be another question. And obviously budgets.
Yeah.
Budgets and expectation is basically everything when diving into digital, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I guess that's a big question we get asked by our clients is the budget. And I know we had a chat about that previously, but and so if I'm a builder and I'm doing maybe 3 million turnover, maybe 10, 15 houses a year, 300-400K a build.
Yep.
And they're coming to me saying, Bryn, what kind of budget should I set for next year in terms of my marketing?
Yep.
What would your response be to that?
Look, it's a question that comes up often, and it comes up often with sizable builders, whether commercial or residential, where it comes up often with local one-man band carpenters and plumbers and electricians. So it's definitely a question, and obviously as an agency we'd like to create an ecosystem where we have this relationship with our client's accountant or our client's business coach and our client's advisors, because we're sort of all on the same team working towards the same goals for this particular business. So it is a tough question. The best response I can give you is basically, if you're looking at advertising like a bill, you're doing it wrong.
Yep.
Advertising, or let's call it marketing and even sales, is the lifeblood of every business. And it is a really, really key driver towards the growth of that business, because in most businesses, lead generation, acquisition and growth is definitely on the radar as one of their key objectives. You've got to identify what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to get there. And then you've got to make the decision to invest into marketing rather than decide that it's a bill and whatever it is, whatever happens.
Yep.
That's where I see a lot of business owners, they do go wrong. You've got to know your numbers.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you as an accountant, but I'm a numbers man as well, and I'm a numbers man more so from a performance perspective. So, if you have a trade-based business, and let's say your number one goal, and let's say we're an electrician for argument's sake, we're average sales at 500, right? Let's say we are looking to bring on 5 more jobs in a week.
Yep.
Yeah. So we want to work out how many leads we need to get to achieve 5 jobs.
Yep.
Right? We want to look at what platforms we want to spend to get those leads.
Yep.
We want to look at what investment cost we need to spend or willing to spend to win those 5 jobs.
Yep.
The beautiful thing about digital marketing, like particularly search marketing, right, is everything leaves a footprint.
Yeah.
Everything's trackable.
Yeah.
So, it's wonderful when you can sort of start with a client, and we've experienced this thousands of times with a lot of small tradies and even larger growing tradies, where they start and they don't know this information, and they're not expected to a degree. It's hard to have
wear every hat.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm the first bloke to admit that. So it's amazing sometimes to see the journey when they start with a small budget and dip their toe into a strategy, but the right strategy, right? And 6 months down the track, they're now purely working on the numbers.
Yeah.
They now know exactly, in order to achieve X, Y, or Z, they know based on the strategy and the steps I take, I need to spend X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And it just becomes a game of formulas. And once that happens, it's amazing.
That's the end goal, isn't it? But
Absolutely.
I guess something else some of these guys would need to know is, what's the expectation in time on that? Like, you know, if you've got somebody coming to you and this is their goal, they want to get to here, what's the expectation of time? Because, you know, my understanding would be things don't happen straight away.
Absolutely not. And look,
You know?
that's sometimes the difficulty. There's obviously a number of different marketing strategies. Like you look at SEO for argument's sake.
Yeah.
So look at search marketing. There's two ways to advertise yourself on a search engine. And look, if you're a trade-based business and your goal is to attract new customers, generate new inquiries, new leads, search is going to be the platform that you need to lead with, and
Yep.
where majority of your budget needs to be invested into.
Yep.
90-something% of everyone who starts their journey looking for a product or service, they start that on Google.
Yeah.
They don't start that on social, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we want to have our lead or front end marketing strategy into Google. Google Ads is pay per click. Create a platform, create a foundation, create an asset, create a high valuable offer. We can set up a campaign and have it running, you know, almost within a week or two.
Yeah.
Testing the waters, generating some leads, working on conversion rates, and obviously coaching and working with the client to convert some of these into jobs.
Yep.
That is immediate and can produce a lot of low-hanging fruit in the short term, and it's a great thing. However, the recommendation is always to invest into SEO.
Yeah. Yeah.
The difficulty is the patience.
Is the patience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And so what is that patience? Like if I'm investing $20,000, just for argument's sake.
Yep.
And it sounds to me like it's a hybrid approach where some's SEO and some's pay per click, which is probably a bit more instant than the SEO.
Correct.
But what kind of time span would I need to invest in that SEO to start to get some good results from that, in your opinion?
Look, it depends on the starting platform we have. If it's a brand new website, brand new business with zero content, there's a lot of housework we've got to do to get it basically SEO ready. Or if it's a well-established site with some solid content that's already been favored or indexed by Google, we have a good starting platform.
Yeah.
So essentially, in a nutshell, I would probably say 3 to 6 months, you will start to generate a flavor of what's happening, right?
Yeah.
The best way to, I suppose, report on the performance of SEO would be 12 months plus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Depends on, again, so there's a number of factors that go into SEO, right? Time is a big one, budget is a big one, right?
Yeah.
What determines time and what determines budget is going to be basically the competition.
Yeah.
So if we're in a competitive industry, and let's say we're shooting for the keyword like, let's say, plumber Brisbane.
Yeah.
Now, we know in the plumbing market within Greater Metro Brisbane, that keyword is going to be the most competitive.
Yeah.
So if that's our number one goal, is to get plumber Brisbane, we're starting from ground zero. We know that a substantial budget's going to be required to allocate to resources, and substantial time's going to be required in order to eventually climb rankings, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to compete with every other plumber in Brisbane doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Our strategy from an SEO perspective is slightly different. We definitely, the end goal with the right client and the right strategy with the right expectation, the end goal is to get there for plumber Brisbane, right?
Yeah.
But the real goal is to acquire new customers, win new jobs, and we're going to do that by generating traffic through to the website, and we're going to do that by getting you to rank for keywords.
Yep.
So we kind of devise a strategy to sort of look for low-hanging fruit in the interim. If a keyword is not as competitive as others, well, we're not going to be competing with every single plumber on the planet to get there.
Yeah.
So the time frame to achieve ranking on some less competitive, more specific keywords, like let's call it local block drain plumber, Kangaroo Point, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
A little bit more specific.
Yeah.
Now, the chances of us ranking that particular keyword in a shorter time frame is very achievable.
Yeah.
What the goal is to do that and multiply that strategy by 100 or 200 keywords.
Yeah.
We're not going to get as much keyword traffic as plumber Brisbane, but if we do get that keyword multiplied by 100, we probably are, and we're going to get traffic and we're going to get leads.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like with that method, if you were measuring your kind of, what is it, a lead cost or your conversion cost, or however you're measuring that type of metric, if you were using something less vague, I guess, that would substantially come down, wouldn't it? Because if you're going Plumber Brisbane, it's probably going to be quite expensive.
Absolutely.
To get there. But
look, from an SEO perspective, it definitely is going to be. So
Yeah.
we're going to have to obviously invest substantially on a monthly basis, and we're
Yeah.
also going to have to do that for a longer period of time before we see results.
Yeah.
You know, within SEO, there is a misunderstanding, right? I believe the SEO industry and digital marketers have ill-educated a lot of small business owners, where the mentality is, I just got to get there for Plumber Brisbane, and then everything's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
That's not the strategy. You're not spending $2 or $3 a month over 12 or 18 months so you can be there for Plumber Brisbane.
Yeah.
You're spending $2 or $3 a month to assist in the growth of the business.
Yeah.
Now, how do we do that? We want to generate jobs. We want to win jobs. We want to win leads to win jobs. We want to drive traffic to win leads. We want to get ranking. So it starts with, it needs to start from the end result, like we spoke about before.
Yeah.
Collecting revenue on a job.
Yeah.
How do we do it? We start by targeting and ranking for keywords.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it does,
and I think
100%,
that's key.
Yeah. And I just, on a little bit of a different tangent, but when you talked about the pay per click, I know there's kind of Facebook, there's Google.
Yep.
Which ones would you recommend if you're that plumber and you just want to get quick returns on these things? What's better for advertising through those?
Look, absolutely Google Ads.
Google Ads.
Pound for pound, dollar for dollar, if executed correctly, it is going to be your number one lead generator.
Yep.
Short term, and if done correctly, it can be long term.
Yep.
We always recommend a client to never solely rely on pay per click or Google Ads.
Yep.
Because it becomes one of those things. If performing so well, you can never get away from it.
Yeah.
I've seen over the years a lot of clients and trade-based businesses who have spent tens of thousands of dollars on a monthly basis in Google Ads, right? Performing fantastically from a lead volume, lead quality, cost per lead, job acquisition, retention. So it's just performing like a well-oiled machine through the strategy we've devised, but never diversified his marketing. Never invested into, say, SEO for the longevity of the business, or social or business profile management.
Yeah.
What happened was his business grew and grew and grew, as did his expenses, but cash flow was fantastic. But what he got to a stage was he could never take his finger off the pulse. If he had a situation where he didn't spend the same budget in a 5-day period on Google Ads, his business was at a standstill.
Yeah.
So I would basically say Google Ads is definitely going to be your best lead generator, particularly for immediate leads, and particularly in the residential maintenance type industry.
Yeah.
But I would always recommend diversify your marketing as best as possible.
Yeah. So don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Absolutely.
That's basically what it boils down to, isn't it?
Most definitely.
Yeah. And just on that builder perspective we spoke about before. So if I was a builder and my average build's $300,000 to $400,000, but I want to get into high end builds, so I'm going to start doing $700,000, $800,000 builds.
Yep.
What do you recommend for marketing for that builder?
So my first opinion and advice would be let's look at your digital and your marketing assets first, right? Let's look at the narrative and the story that you're telling to your audience and your market. Let's look at your brand and how it could be perceived, right? Rather than diving straight into a marketing initiative or a marketing platform.
Yep.
So things like your website, right? That's going to play a huge role.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about marketing, and this is even goes back to what I said in the first question, the traditional way we perceive marketing is the same. So you have the ability to create whatever perception you like. We have a builder doing smaller jobs and he's looking to branch into more luxury high-end homes, hypothetically, right?
Yep.
Now, does his website show that he has the capability, the professionalism, and the value to be able to enter that market at the moment? Do all of his other marketing assets, whether it's his capability statements, whether it's his signage, whether it's his uniforms, his vehicles, even the rest of his online profile, his social media pages, Instagram, LinkedIn, so on and so forth.
Yep.
Does that give any particular customer, audience, or whoever's going to stumble across it, the indication that this is the right mob for a luxury home build?
Yeah.
So my goal would be to start on the company's vision, which should then bleed into creating and identifying the brand.
Yeah.
Then we want to start communicating the story through marketing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it does 100%. And
Yeah.
I guess there's no quick win or no easy way to do that, is there? It sounds like you've really got to sit down with your coach, with your advisor, and then have these people, because they're part of your team, I guess. You're part of their external team.
Absolutely.
To help you come up with all of these
That's right.
ways to grow your business.
That's right, and that's what it is. And I find that there are a number, and this is why it gets difficult, and there are a number of different platforms and directions you can go to market your business. Looking at a website, there are a number of different free website builder templates and so on and so forth.
Yep.
But there are so many variables underneath that.
Yeah.
We see it so many times that it's not apples for apples. It's not. I'm doing Facebook, but I'm not getting any leads.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you should just because you post Happy Friday. If that makes any sense.
100%.
And no disrespect, but
100%.
that's sometimes the gap. So it's thorough, but everything needs a strategy.
And on a topic there, you just mentioned platforms. So I got a lot of, say, builders or plumbers, and plumbers might use SimPro, builders might use Buildertrend.
Yep.
And they have really basic CRMs inbuilt in there.
Sure.
Or basically just Refidex,
Yep.
it's names. But when would you advise that actually need a standalone CRM? And if so, what kind of CRMs should they be looking at?
Look, I believe from the start, to be dead honest with you, the way we've built Aiims and the way a lot of our clients have grown is by setting the right foundations in place. Sometimes, even through marketing initiatives as well, sometimes you don't know you need something until you know you need it, and I get that.
Yeah.
But I think if you sort of start to build out systems and processes early on, it creates a really strong foundation for you to then, explore opportunities and initiatives thereafter.
Yeah.
If you're engaging substantially into digital marketing, I say 100% you need some sort of internal system or software that's being able to track lead, track job, and track outcome.
Yep.
There's a lot of things, a lot of platforms where you can connect your marketing reporting platforms and metrics into your lead or job management systems as well. That's when you start to really understand the performance of marketing. Like, I look at it where a lot of businesses may spend, like I look at tracking on our end, right? Clients will spend, $5,000 a month on, let's say, Google advertising. When they look at the end of the month in zero MYOB, they say, oh, we haven't made it that much money this month, right? But it's good to understand and identify why. You got a healthy lead volume, but we may have missed 45% of the phone calls. So we got a healthy lead volume, but we're also missing almost half of the leads we're getting. And let's say we're an emergency plumber. So those jobs are gone. Now then we might look at, okay, out of the 40 calls you did get, what is our job booking rate? Because we can track that. We want to track that.
Yeah,
your systems can track that.
Yep.
Out of our job booking rate, what is our job completion conversion rate? What is our average value per job? What systems do we have in place? And this is where your job management systems come in play. How do we re-engage existing customers and create a better ecosystem or deliver a better service? So I think if you're engaging into marketing or you're looking to scale or grow the business, I think having systems and reporting platforms in place, it may not be the sexy part, because looking at numbers is not the ideal goal, but in the long run, it'll definitely
pay off.
100%.
Look, Matt, one last question I've got for you today is, like we've seen here in our company, getting Google reviews obviously helps, push you up the ranking in that SEO. So, what are some strategies you provide for a builder, a plumber, an electrician, or whatever else on how to get those Google reviews going?
Yeah, look, absolutely. And for a small business, a local business, a service-based business, in the world of marketing, we're finding that one of the biggest decision-making factors for a customer when they search, when they engage, when they buy is trust. Trust, credibility, authority, and that's where those review systems and review platforms have really, really taken shape in the market, right? So from a Google review perspective, that's probably second to your website, your second most important asset online for any small business. So it's super important that you have a fully set up, optimized, and I'll say thoroughly crafted Google My Business page. The next step is to get reviews, right? Now, short answer is in getting reviews is, to start with, I understand everyone wants to get their mum, their dad, their brother, their sister, their employees, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? In that journey, I will say, make sure the reviews are authentic, but authenticity is going to be a big factor. Now, in capturing reviews, it's super important and something that's often neglected, right? But I'm seeing trends every single day that businesses who have a good Google My Business profile with a large amount of 5-star reviews, their Google Ads campaign performs so much better and at a cheaper rate than someone who does the same Google Ads campaign without the Google My Business reviews.
Yep.
So in order to encourage reviews, and that's probably where your lead management, job management systems can really, really come into play and assist in getting reviews. Short answer is you got to ask. You've got to ask every single customer, supplier, contractor that you're working with to ask them for a review.
Yep.
Now, the best way to do it and communicate the review is via SMS.
Yep.
That is my advice.
Yeah.
So a lot of our clients will basically technician finishing up job, obviously professional, that's the goal, leaving the place in a clean environment, thanking the customer for their support, ensuring the customer is satisfied. If the customer is satisfied, requesting a review.
Yep. Via text message.
In person.
Yep.
In person would be the recommendation. If
Yep.
they can do it right then and there, amazing.
Yeah.
If not, whether it's after job, the day of, the day after, sending invoice, I think alongside that, text message with the link to your review page.
Yeah.
The goal is to ensure that the customer understands that you're doing this because you really appreciate their support and you really appreciate their feedback.
Yep.
You're a local business, and word of mouth and referrals is a big part of any business.
Yep.
So I think it's one of those things that don't be afraid to ask. Over time, I have seen it time and time again. I've seen businesses who don't spend any money on advertising thrive and grow off the back of reviews.
Wow.
It's super important.
Yeah. And so all of these things that go on, Matt, how do you keep up with all of this in the marketing space? Because it sounds like you got a lot of intricacies going on. How do you keep up with that?
Absolutely. Look, the short answer is we have an amazing team.
Yeah.
Look, we've been absolutely blessed with some like unbelievably passionate, super skilled, talented individuals.
Yeah.
That's the short answer. Look, we have amazing partnerships with a lot of really high-end industry experts across all fields of business.
Yeah.
We're a Google Premier partner. We're a Microsoft Elite partner. Those two essentially are the top echelon of partnerships you can have within our industry. So we're actually in the top 5 in both, fastest growing in both. So we get unbelievable resources, training, development, staff days, first to scene product launches directly from the main marketing platforms, which obviously keep us refreshed. But the short answer is the digital space is ever evolving.
Yep.
Small business as a landscape is ever evolving. So our methodology is simply evolution within Aiims.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, thanks for taking the time today, Matt, to go through all this with us. I think it's been unbelievable to kind of hear what you got to say, and I'm sure there's a lot of trade businesses right now that aren't investing enough in this space that should be speaking to somebody like you, and that's the reason we had you come by.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah. Much appreciated. Thanks for having me, Bryn.
No problems.